What's up, y'all? GoofyRhexxi here. Hope everybody is doing well, and a happy new year to you guys. Wishing you guys a prosperous, a healthy, and a peaceful 2023. Now, in today's video, guys, we're going to be discussing my 2023 wish list for Marvel Strike Force. So we're going to be talking about all things from game mechanics to game mode changes to character additions and some reworks that I'd like to see come to Marvel Strike Force here. I do want this to be an interactive video where I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on my list, like the things that I've selected here and talked about. And then also I want to know what your wish list is too. Like, what is it that you want to see come to Marvel Strike Force here this year? And who knows, maybe those wishes will actually come true. We'll have to see, right? But want to actually go through a little bit of a quick channel update as well before we kind of dive into the video here. So first and foremost, guys, moving forward, so usually on Mondays we usually do our weekly headliner updates. Unfortunately, guys, we're not going to be doing those anymore moving forward. Just not able to put in the time that is required, just to make those videos successful and as helpful as I would like them to be. So moving forward, what we're going to be doing, we're still going to discuss majority of the topics that would normally be in the weekly headliner update, but we're going to condense it a little bit, right, and do some separate videos and make things a little bit more concise and clear to the point, so it'll be easier for you guys to view as well. So moving forward, that's what we're going to be doing. I hope you guys are okay with that decision. Also, a little bit of a quick personal promotion that I want to talk about here as well, guys. I've started a new YouTube channel. Now, this one is going to be called Keeping It Comic here. This is good. The first video actually is going to be going live today. Actually, maybe live while you're watching this video as well. This channel is going to be focused on everything comics, from your TV shows to movies, the news and rumors as well. Mostly Marvel, but a little bit of DC and anime will be talked about as well. Would love your guys' support and appreciate if you guys to support and subscribe to the channel here. And of course, watching the videos as well. Would love to be able to grow this channel to be the best that it can possibly be. And I definitely need your support in order to be able to do so. So thank you guys so much in advance. And the link will be down below in the description for you guys to take a look at that and subscribe to the channel as well. All right, guys, so on to the wish list here. My first thing I would like to see come to Marvel Strike Force is multiple options for raids. And the reason why I say that is, I don't know, for me, guys, the Doom raids or raids in general, whatever you're doing, if you're doing Ultimates raids, whatever it is that you're doing, they kind of get a little bit stale, right? You're kind of doing the same content every single day. So the Gambit raids last year provided a little bit of a blueprint as to what I wanted to see in terms of raid options. I would like to be able to have maybe 2 or 3 options of selecting what raid I want to do. Same Doom raids and same difficulty, but just having 3 options of picking sort of characters and different sort of enemy characters that I will be able to face, I think would be really nice. Now, I don't like the randomness of the Gambit raids, but would like to be able to kind of select a specific option in regards to what I wanted to face, because let's be real, guys, after some time, other than raising the difficulty level of the Doom raids, it's really kind of very predictable in regards to what you could do. So I would like to see a little bit more variety. I think it would add enough sort of excitement, I think, to some everyday game mode that you're doing, in my personal opinion. Like I said, guys, I want to know what your thoughts are where that is concerned. Would that be something that you would like to see here in Marvel Strike Force? Another thing that I actually would like to see as well are some catch-up mechanics. I would love to be able to recommend this game to friends that I play other games with, or that I know are big gamers. I would love to be able to recommend this to players, but because it takes so long to be able to get to any sort of meaningful content in the game, any sort of end game content, it's kind of tough for me to be able to make that recommendation. Also, they necessarily won't be able to play with me because of that same level or difference in level as well, right? So one of the things that I have is like catch-up mechanics. There's like a major list of catch-up mechanics that I would like to see them do. One of the things I would like to talk about first is probably just having players being able to be fast-tracked to level 75, especially with the new hard difficulty campaigns now, where you need to be at level 75 in order to be able to enter into this content, with there being important characters that are there for players to be farmable. I would like to see them advance and quickly catch players up so that they can get to level 75 a little bit quicker, which also means that will give them a little bit of a quicker ramp up for players to be able to get to Dark Dimension 3 as well. And I would say, like, a timeline, realistically being able to get players there within the first 6 months. Now, not necessarily complete Dark Dimension 3, right? But at least be able to get to Dark Dimension 3. I hope I said Dark Dimension 3 at first, but being able to get to Dark Dimension 3 within the first 6 months there. Now, you may think it's probably a little bit too fast. I think part of the reason why this game is not growing as well as it could grow is because it does take a long time for players to catch up. And therefore you're not retaining those newer players. It also might be the reason as well why prices are kind of so high, and because you're only keeping a certain amount of group of players, and you're losing players at the top end, and then you're not retaining players that you're just bringing on into the game. So I think that may also be the reason why prices are so high. There also could just be really a greedy company, but in general, I think that is contributing to it a little bit. So if players were able to then get to meaningful content a little bit faster, because right now it takes too much time for players to be able to get to level 70, and then much less even get to level 75, right? Which then means that players are taking forever to be able to do the Heroes Chapter 7 and then Villains Chapter 7. So I would say this too, like you also would need to be able to give, when I say catch-up mechanics, give players the resources, give players access to some earlier characters, things like even older legendaries. Yes, a lot of those legendaries are permanent legendaries right now, but I think having constant double drops for characters that players need for those permanent legendaries, especially considering that a lot of those older legendaries now are being required for new legendary unlocks like Magneto, right? Shuri, things like that. I would like to see them make some changes to, and I think would be a really nice way to get players caught up, to retain those newer players that are there, and allowing them to actually participate in some meaningful content here. The next thing I want to talk about is eliminating unnecessary bottlenecks. I think right now in this game, every game should have bottlenecks in general. I want to talk about that, right? I think every game should have bottlenecks. However, some of these bottlenecks, to me, kind of serve no purpose whatsoever. Now, I typically tend to slowly upgrade characters. I do like 1.5 million in upgrades per day on characters, and I do like another 500k on buying stuff from the store. So usually 2 million gold a day. But training mats to me is just like a bottleneck that kind of baffles me a little bit. I don't understand why this is a bottleneck. We already have gold, we already have gear, there's already other bottlenecks that are in the game already. Why do we then also need training mats as a bottleneck when it's already hard enough to be able to sometimes keep and maintain that gold, right? Especially if you're like an end game level where you kind of got to get everything on day one and then upgrade as fast as possible to be able to compete at that level, right? It's very challenging and difficult for players to be able to do that. I think training mats are unnecessary bottleneck that they need to eliminate in Marvel Strike Force. Now, another thing I thought about too was like ability materials. Like ability materials, it's maybe not as huge at the end game level, other than like T4s. T4s definitely are a little bit challenging to get here, but things like T3s and T2s for earlier players are what I hear a lot of them complain about, where it's like, bro, I have a lot of T3s, but I can't use them because I don't have enough T2s, right? Or T1s, or it's just crazy that is a bottleneck. Or for players who maybe advance to being in bigger alliances, it's like they have a lot of T4s, but they can't use them because they don't have enough T3s. Things like that, I think, are something, in my opinion, that needs to be changed as well. Eliminating just stupid bottlenecks that make no sense, I think, will be a good direction to go in. And this may be a little bit more endgame, but things like SBCs, right? Now, I'm doing fairly well with SBCs. I think I'm in sort of like an okay range where that is concerned for SBCs right now. But there are times where like I run out of health catalysts. There are times where I run out of like focus catalyst, right? Now I'm doing okay right now where that's concerned, but that's because I level things up very slowly, which is kind of boring to do, right? Things like orange, like a lot of this orange gear shouldn't be like a major bottleneck anymore, especially when you have new gear like 16 and 17. I know players who are farming health catalysts on a day-by-day basis because they have 200-300 of it, because they have their end game and they're upgrading their rosters frequently to be able to keep up with endgame content. They are heavily into war, they're heavily into raids, they're heavily into arena, crucible, right? So they're upgrading characters frequently. I just don't think that orange gear should be that much of a bottleneck anymore in MSF, especially with the new gear 16 and 17 being out. I think character farmability cadence, that's my next thing here that I would like to see some improvements on. Character farmability cadence, yes, they've introduce some new campaign nodes and some new characters are now there that can be farmable, but I think there needs to be a clear cadence so that players can follow along and that characters don't get left behind the wayside in regards to who needs to be farmable, right? Like Agatha, still not farmable. Yes, of course, they've now added Gambit into the Cosmic Crucible store. I actually don't think that that's a terrible place for them to put characters that are good. I do think it can get a little weird for players who don't care about Cosmic Crucible as much. Yeah, but that's a little bit of a gray area. I don't want to talk about that too much here, but in regards to like characters that should be farmable that have been out for a while, like Agatha Harkness, right? There needs to be a specific character cadence where you release character X and then the event happens and then the character becomes farmable within 3 months, within 2 months, whatever the case is. There needs to be a specific character cadence so that players don't wait a year excuse me, before a character actually becomes farmable. I think it's kind of outrageous that they do that in a game like this, where it's a character collector game where you're not necessarily able to reliably collect characters on a much needed basis, because there's a lot of players who do need Agatha that weren't around during the time. Maybe they took some time off, or maybe they are just starting the game. But Agatha's been close now to a year being in this game, and she's not farmable yet. To me, that's something that should happen in a character collector game, in my opinion. Then we have like orb sliders. This is just a simple one for me, where I would just like to see orb sliders in the game. I have a bunch of orbs that are like 2,000 or 2,000 or plus in terms of orbs. I'm not going to individually go in here and click on 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Like, I would just like to be able to get an orb slider where I can just open up 500 at one time. I don't know how tough it is with coding, because I know a lot of their systems are a little bit older. So that may be a little bit of a deterrent for them to do it. But I just think that a lot of games have sliders. So I think it would be nice for them to implement something like that as well here into Marvel Strike Force. Now, real quickly on some characters, guys, that I would like to see as well come to MSF. For me, my biggest one, and maybe it's because of recency bias, because we're playing this campaign right now where you need to use your Guardians team, and I'm like, bro, they're not good, right? They're not great characters. I did put Blue ISO on Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon, and of course, I already had it on Gamora. Gamora kind of hard carried a lot of those nodes to be able to get through it. I really kind of only focused on 3-star in the mutant node, because there's a lot of mutant gear that we need to farm right now for Apocalypse. But for me, I'm like, oh man, this team is not good. And I was reminded that Star-Lord actually is a really solid battery generating character that I would love to see sort of kind of come back to the fold there and be in an actual character that's usable in Marvel Strike Force. Would love to see it. Would absolutely love to see it. Of course, with the Guardians of the Galaxy movie coming out in May, there is a place and a space for them to be able to sort of kind of give them a little bit of a touch up and a rework here. I would love to see them make that move, in my personal opinion. Now, another team that I actually would like to see a rework to as well, but also adding on some additional characters, would be the Inhumans team. I promise you, I know how to spell Inhumans. Here we go. This is another team that I would like to see get a reworking. Bring in the Royal Family. We already have a couple of characters here already. Obviously, Black Bolt, Crystal, and Karnak. We already have those characters that are part of the Royal Family team, but I would love to see them bring in, and probably maybe kick Karnak to the curb because he's not that good in the game, but bring in characters like Medusa, right? Medusa would be really cool. For them to be able to bring in here Gorgon, Maximus. I guess you could also say bring in Triton too as a character, but whichever way that they mix it up to where you have a 5-person team, obviously Black Bolt being the leader of that team, I would love to see them make that move here. Now, the TV show wasn't very good. I don't know if there's a place where it would make sense to bring in the Inhumans team right now, but I absolutely would love to see a Royal Family team being brought into Marvel Strike Force with the Inhumans. I also still feel like, man, we're missing Odin as well, right? Like, yes, we have this as Guardian team. I'm actually fine with Mighty Thor. I'm fine with Valkyrie. I like that Thor got a rework. I like that Hela got a separate rework to be a part of the Undying team here, but I still feel like we're missing Odin, right? Odin. Would love to see a character like that also being brought in as well. But another sort of Asgardian Link character that I would like to see as well, although he is not Asgardian technically, would be Beta Ray Bill. Now, I know a lot of you guys probably know who Beta Ray Bill is. Some of you probably don't know who Beta Ray Bill is, but he's the first character outside of Thor that was deemed worthy by Odin to hold Mjolnir. So I would love to see a character like this being brought in. He's actually able to defeat Thor, I think, twice in the comics. Odin actually deemed Beta Ray Bill as being worthy enough to hold Mjolnir as well, although he actually eventually built him Stormbreaker for him to hold that. I would love to be able to see a character like Beta Ray Bill brought into Marvel Strike Force series, essentially like Thor's counterpart, but just look in this form, right? That he looks like. So I would love to be able to see a character like this brought into the game. I think with Secret Invasion coming up, that there is a place where they most likely could sneak in Beta Ray Bill. He was captured by the Skrulls in the Secret Invasion comic. Super Skrull actually, I think, holds Stormbreaker for a little bit. I think it was like the one where Super Skrull actually took on the name as like the God Killer or something like that. So like there's a way that they could definitely bring in Beta Ray Bill just for me, guys. I would like to see Beta Ray Bill, and I know a lot of you guys who would like to see Beta Ray Bill also. Also, guys, look, can we get like an original Young Avengers team? That ship has probably sailed. They're not going to do it again, but we'd love to see a nice little sort of Young Avenger team, like original Young Avengers, not Squirrel Girl and Miss Marvel and Echo. Listen, I love Miss Marvel and Squirrel Girl, you know, top 5 favorite Marvel character ever, but I don't consider them to be Young Avengers. We'd love to see Wiccan, Speed, Hulking. Like, we'd love to see characters like that. Patriot being brought into this team as well. I think Iron Lad could potentially show up, of course, being that, you know, we're seeing sort of like Quantum Mania come in. Maybe Iron Lad might be in that movie talking to Cassie. Who knows, right? There's a couple different ways that they could go. I don't see them probably adding to this Young Avengers team anytime soon, but man, I would love to definitely see a original Young Avengers team. Galactus is another character I thought about too. I think they really kind of missed the mark by bringing in Silver Surfer, but never bringing in or really mentioning Galactus. In my opinion, I think that was a missed opportunity there as well. But want to know, guys, what are your wish lists? What do you want to see added to Marvel Strike Force here over this year, right? There's so much more that could go in. I probably should have made a separate entire character wish list, but I wanted to kind of just keep it to a lot of other things that I wanted to see in Marvel Strike Force. But listen, appreciate you guys watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel here if you would like to see some more MSF content. Hit that notification bell so that you know when the videos do go live. Until next time, guys, y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe.